This is the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. Through candid conversations and insightful analysis, we aim to provide a deeper understanding of the political, economic, and social landscape of Africa. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the diverse and dynamic world of African governance.
Hello, my name is Joseph, and you're welcome to the Policy Digest series. We are back with another episode with Aloikin praise apology, a social justice activist, and in the other episodes you could have seen there was a lot of conversation on what inspired the protests and how the protests went and how prison was. And one critical part of this journey was on the resistance that came either from within or without, both before the protests happened and after the protests happened, both from state actors. Whereas I didn't start by telling people to get coffee and juice.
Good. You're a quick learner. I appreciate
I'm a
that.
very quick learner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, people that have been advised that you should get your glass of water.
Your hankies, because you may cry. It's bloody, it's teary.
Okay. So there was a lot of interference even before. Could you walk us through that?
Let me see. Prior to the actual march itself, of course, one of the biggest resistances came from Parliament itself, from the Speaker herself, who insisted that, of course, we are foreign-funded people, we are homosexual people, bamshafters, to borrow her own word.
So there was framing interference, trying to frame you as...
Exactly. Frame us as...
how did it emerge? Did it emerge
cause
from some political parties? Did it emerge from the media? Have you done some tracking of where the narrative starts from?
The whole you're being funded narrative?
Yeah, specifically for the march to Parliament.
I think it starts from Parliament itself. Must have been actually Parliament Watch itself that covered that or something.
We must have covered it, yeah.
So that's where it starts from. And, they're like, these are bamshafters, these are homosexuals, these are foreign-funded people, And at that point, there is that narrative. But it's weak, a bit weak. Because, people have said it before. The government has always used it. It's like the go-to excuse,
On every election.
On
I don't
every
know. I don't know what they're going to use it in 2026.
Thank you. It is the go-to. So people were sort of like, not really.
Easy, yeah.
So that was one of the major resistances before, you understand. But also there was from within the Ugandans themselves, people would say, these are just keyboard warriors. There's no way they can do it. If you dare march, you'll find yourself alone on the streets.
I think there were so many memes about that.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I saw quite several on, like, one person appears to be seeing the screen. There's no one, and then they run back.
Exactly. So, especially, after the precedent that Kenya had set, hundreds of youth on the streets, people smoking tear gas and
people standing on
standing on top of street traffic light poles. And like, can we recreate that in this country? So, there was a lot of, resistance here and there. Of course, the protests come and the people that protested. And from prison, now that I get out, and people that would visit me would tell me, these guys were saying your thing was a flop. But still the spirit kept on. However, then there comes in the president, even just way before. He came in before and after, actually.
Oh, by the way, I remember he had a... Was it like a
Sunday? Then he was saying, do not play with fire.
I know.
So the president himself, for the first time, comes out and has a conversation about this. But let's not forget the police. Police had been our first, I think, direct state resistance,
I remember you visited.
Yeah. Because
you were summoned or you visited? I think you were summoned.
We wrote a letter to them.
Oh, yes.
Because according to the Public Code and Management Act, we're supposed to give them a notification, like we are coming.
So it's not like request for permission?
No, it's not at all. Yeah. Actually, the first...
You just write to them.
The first act had that we should seek their permission, but
Okay.
it was overturned.
By the Constitutional Court?
Yes. It was, I think, Section 8. So it literally took away all that ask for permission and etc. stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it's basically a notice, and their response is supposed to be, okay, how do we aid this? What protection can we offer you? What road do you want to use such that we gazette them that day for this particular thing? Well, that's not the response we got. The response we got was first a secretive private meeting with the police. The moment we get in at Naguru, they take away our phones, they do everything. They're like, okay, come, take us to the boardroom. And the conversations are all about, don't protest, don't dare do it. What do you want? You get that kind of conversation. Then, of course, when they realized that there was no one that was barraging, they stand up and storm out of the room. So storming out of the room.
Oh, they stormed out of the room.
Yes, they stormed out of the room. So they tell us, we shall give you a response at 1 p.m. But from this meeting, you already know what our response is going to be. So we go 1 p.m., our response didn't come. But later the next day, of course, they called me. They're like, come and pick your response. We go pick the response. And of course, it's negative. And it's the same things. Foreign influence, foreign something, advising us to use less antagonistic ways, as if they have not.
What?
I know, and that's the question we asked, like what? And there were no answers.
Yeah, like figure it out.
Exactly, like figure it out.
Pray to God.
Or put on a yellow shirt and go dance for the president. Just figure it out. Just find a way to do it. I feel like I should borrow. I should visit a hero and ask him, how do you do it? But yeah, besides that,
kneel on president's birthday.
Pray for the country. Fast. I don't know if that's what the police meant, but we met that. Now, post-prison, the narrative still continues with the police as the people that are foreign funded. Now, where the foreign funding thing actually sparks off from is when one of our colleagues that we had broken out with decides to release some tweets, and she's saying, these people visited the AU. We visited the AU, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I had it.
We visited the EU, blah, blah, blah. I know the funny part is, despite her in that message putting, but praise refused, but they refused the idea of money. You understand?
The idea she put it out.
Yeah, she actually put it out there. But it's what anyone wanted to discredit the movement was just looking for. You understand? Even when I attempted to make a reply of sorts, still showing that, guys, this is not a genuine thing. It's just a fallout thing because we had differences on A, B, C, D. And I like that time allows vindication. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
For certain people.
Time,
because you can now see the trend.
Time is...
Where someone that is speaking about corruption, or people that were speaking about corruption, now stop and literally wake up every day to attack people that are actually doing something. So that whole saga, that tweet saga, exploded this foreign funding thing. And remember, it had just come a day, actually not a day, I think on the very same day that New Vision had let out an article saying the intelligence intel on the protest, foreign funds, FDC.
They're trying to correlate the
uncorrelatable.
Yes,
they're great, like this very sweet story.
They've thwarted like a state removal kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh goodness, is it UPDF officers who write for the New Vision or something?
I don't know, but they say it comes from intelligence and stuff like that. Now, the most funny part is right after that newspaper, something leaks, I think from the UPDF or something, and it's like this document explaining to the president the discoveries of how there is, like, this movement is here to overthrow the government and advising him to engage the media as fast as possible. Like, okay, you say you have next to terrorists in your country, and your approach is to engage the news to publish this intelligence information. But later they come out and said it was fake. However, so when she makes that tweet, it doesn't help. You understand?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't help. It just worsens the situation.
It everything. So there is that, different forms of resistance from here and there. But I'm still hopeful because despite, even after those things happening, people almost keep protesting every other week, People protested here in Kampala again. People have been protesting in Kasese. People protested in Jinja. So the fire is not ceasing.
The fire is not ceasing. I'm quite curious about what our response was to such efforts at reducing the speed of the efforts to revitalize protest culture. How did you respond? Maybe you could go one at a time. So before, the people who were advising you to not go to protest, if I must quote them, they said they wanted just 3 people to go to parliament, others called it a safe corridor, others said there would be a bloodbath. How did you navigate those naysayers who had different opinions about what should be done?
So I can't say there was much that was done because people already sort of had a determination. Like, no one was buying into a safe corridor. And the greatest thing that we did was to continue educating people that there is need for this struggle and explain to them why we can't dialogue, for example. And me, this is personally why I can't accept dialogue at this point. Not that I'm against the entire idea of dialogue, but at this point, I don't think
At this point,
dialogue.
okay. Walk me through that.
Yeah, so this is it, you see. The only kind of dialogue right now that most likely is to happen in this situation is a sort of thing that entrenches unconstitutionalism or entrenches a dictatorship of sort. Because they're going to tell you, go meet this person. Receive a call, meet the president, Go meet the president. You have a different... The power dynamics are so bad. You're like, down here, he's up there, and most likely than not, you're going to bend to what he has to offer to you.
Even if you don't bend, you look like you've bent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And are you meeting people that actually want to create a difference? That's the first question you should ask yourself. Because if you look at the demands of the young people, it's easy to tell if someone wants to do something about them. They don't need to meet me. They don't need to meet anyone to do the things that these young people are asking for. What is the initiative? You see, Nakalema has been hosted in a space just a day to the protest, a day or two to the protest. Yeah, I remember.
Solomon
and she insists, no, we cannot have the protest. These young people cannot march. They cannot do that. No initiative, no incentive. She cannot even pass it through her mouth, the names of people that are being corrupt. You get, as if it's a taboo. And that's the same person you want to meet and have a dialogue with. What do you think she's going to say in that dialogue that is substantial? You understand? You're meeting a president who is going around the country for Thanksgivings. People in Chitezi are buried under rubbish. She has never even stepped there. But he's going to thank whoever they are thanking for I don't know what is right in this country. So you realize that there is no incentive whatsoever. A president who is saying no to protest. A president who is saying, no to peaceful assembly. What kind of dialogue, really, are you going to have with such a person who hasn't taken the initiative? So I feel like dialogue in this country can only come from a point where someone has taken an initiative. If I'm to compare it to, like, the Kenyan scenario, I would say dialogue wasn't important before the finance bill was rejected. But after the president goes ahead to reject the finance bill, then I'm like, okay, fine, cool. Let's now have a conversation.
Possible, yes, exactly. Sure.
Let's have a conversation because it seems you want to right the wrongs that you've done. So that was one of the things we did, keep educating people and showing them that we are not just angry because now they call us goons, they call us people that are sowing anger in people, you get? But what's there not to be angry about in this country? Why should we be happy even?
Maybe just to still follow up. So, assuming the president heeded to those protest calls, would there still be need for dialogue, or the demands are met, end of story, no dialogue?
I usually make this joke that if there is to be a dialogue, it should be an apology from the bad leaders to Ugandans for all the stuff that they've messed up in this country. But also, it should be a place where we have a conversation of what's the way forward. You get, okay, what beyond
how
just
did we get to this point?
Beyond this parliament, because we are only tackling a very small part of the problems in this country. Because as we are tackling corruption in parliament, KCC is also doing its own stuff. LDC is not admitting law students.
Yeah, I saw the conversation.
Interns are outside there. So it is a whole Pandora box, you understand? And here is just us addressing this one thing. So the dialogue could be, I'm sure even, because someone usually says in this country, That's what I'm saying. Dialogue is really more, it should be an apology. Because it's not that our leaders don't know what they're supposed to do. Look at that Chitezi thing. 16 years ago, KCCA itself in a project looking for funding indicated that things were bad. The place was
16
bad.
Years ago.
16 years ago.
2008. Oh, goodness.
Around 2 months ago, still that issue was being raised. The slopes are unstable. Something is going to happen. And here we are. Rubbish has fallen on people. Do you really want to tell me that what the issue is our leaders don't know? A president that has over 100 advisors. A country that has all those numbers of MPs. 500, over 500, how many are we?
30 now.
So, with all the ministers that we have, you want to tell me the president or this government or these leaders don't know what the problem is?
I read the KCCA letter. They said that it has been categorized. It had been, I think, for the last 4 financial years, an unfunded priority in 222, 224, 221, 222, 220, 221, 219, 220.
So, I don't know. Now the question becomes is who makes it a priority?
It has to be MPs themselves. Of course, that MPs normally have they don't have a lot of leverage in moving money around, even when they look like they have it. There's a framework that limits them to adjust it by a certain percentage. I don't remember the percentage, but it's the state which draws the annual budget every year.
Exactly. So I want to buy that. Like I usually tell people, I always want to buy it. That, okay, good, you're selling us this. But this very KCCA or whoever runs money in that area was having every day 1.4 million being paid. You should see that tractor or whatever that thing is, a compactor. It was more of moving rust or moving metal together, joined by some miracle. But that person was being paid 1.4 million every day to compact rubbish, to compact a mountain of rubbish. One tiny compactor like this. 1.4 million. Yes.
How many acres is it?
I have no idea, but one is really large because by the time it collapses and does all that damage, it was because I pass Chitezi when I'm going to my home, and you could say, "Oh, look at that mountain of rubbish." That's how big it was.
Oh, that must have been
you're on the
huge,
side, and you can literally see
a hill of rubbish.
Yes, a hill
like
over
a carrier of rubbish.
Like, have you ever gone to Mbale before?
No.
Okay, so when you're going to Mbale, you can see the mountain go. No, I don't know where you come from. There are mountains, right?
Mountains.
So you see when you're going to a place and then from a distance you can see the mountain. That's how it was. That's how big it was. So you realize that people are not priority of people are not. So there is that. I haven't lost the line of thought. Where were we coming from to this point?
So we're coming from the concept that there was interference and you people did nothing about it because you were already determined to go, and that's how we go into this problem analysis. Maybe to get to post protests, there's still more interference, especially with the narrative of foreign agent. I've also noticed some conversations trying to frame some allies of the march, who are the friends from the digital public square. I'm not going to mention the name. That they are foreign agents trying to characterize that since they receive money for donor funding, then they are foreign agents. How are you people going about that?
Man, I don't know because I'm not from that organization, but I think, try to say that if you really have followed that conversation, what these people want is not a response of yes or no, the way they claim that they do. Are you receiving foreign funds? Yes or no? Why are you failing to answer yes or no? People claiming to be having smoking guns and whatever.
I know.
But if you have this conversation, if you genuinely want an answer, different people from that entity have come out to give you a response. You understand? And you can read the lines and find out whether or not. But if you realize that they are saying they're lying to us, like, oh, no, we didn't get money.
That's when you flag it as
then come out and show us that these people are lying to us. Here is my receipt
evidence,
that they have ABCD. And as able Ugandans, we shall be willing to join you in asking
in the
for.
struggle against.
But when you just raise something and say people are getting money, oh, come on. The government is getting money. We are all getting money somewhere.
Also foreign agents.
Yes, like this is an organization. It's
45% of the budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you go on their website, you're going to see their partners listed down there. You get the
Like it's
issue
not a
is
secret.
try to show us, yes, try
secrecy,
to show us that this money is coming from the Taliban and its main aim is to that they got out praise as a protester and gave her 10 million and told her go and protest. You understand? But it's just more of diversions. It's more of where people just lose it. I do not know. I'm failing to put my finger on the why. I don't know if they're paid by the state. I don't know if it's personal grievances like, oh no, this thing is getting beyond me and I wanted to contain it, because I've had some of them saying, my struggle, our struggle.
Oh yes, I'm told like you guys impersonified my... I'm the one who started it.
Exactly.
How can you guys
take it away from me?
I was the lead activist.
So,
like,
oh my God.
How can I be not the lead activist anymore?
It's painful because, come on, bad things are happening every day in Uganda.
Sure.
But for you want to spend your entire day, every day, criticizing people that are trying to do something about these bad things without evidence. I don't know if you get what I mean.
I get it.
Yes.
And
like today, something comes out, someone has appointed Eddie Kenzo now as our presidential advisor on creatives.
Senior, why aren't you calling him? Yeah, call a senior presidential advisor.
Senior, thank you. And people are crying. People are saying, no. And the best you can say is, you guys are just jealous of the person. The person deserves where they are. That's not what we are saying. We're not saying, okay, we can't even have a conversation on whether he deserves it just because he has won music awards. Because to me, creativity is way
different
beyond
from consultancy and creative industry.
Exactly. The creative industry, it cuts across, because you could be creative in your organization. You can need creativity. I don't think he has that capacity to offer that
kind of technical.
It couldn't be a miracle that somehow he's there, but let's not have that conversation because I don't know. But my point is, do not bastardize what Ugandans are trying to do. You get the point is, every day a new position is being created. Where is the money supposed to come from? The national coffers. Do we have that luxury? Do we have that kind of money? Hello? You're telling people on one hand you want to reduce their allowances, but at the same time you're putting someone new on the payroll.
From 2.5 to 1 million. Wait.
Yeah, it was 2.5. It was dropped to 1 million.
To 800
then a member of parliament had the guts to stand and say the solution is to reduce it from 1 million to a lesser price. Now you may be thinking, 1 million is some good money. But no, you're supposed to pay rent. You're supposed to transport yourself. You're supposed to buy food for yourself. Literally.
And remember, you spent 5 years in medicine school. It's 1 million. 1
million. And you're offering actual services in these hospitals.
There's also black tax in the village.
Yes.
They have not realized that. Yeah.
He's working. Okay, black tax,
You have
this, your siblings, this, you're this,
And
so,
you have a title called doctor.
Can you imagine? Doctor? Musawo?
1 million.
I know. So I don't know why Ugandans are like this. I feel like we are self-sabotaging. I feel like we are self-destroying. But the most beautiful part is, for me, irregardless of these conversations, young people are still pushing and protesting. Yeah. And that's why I don't know if you remember, we had this on one of the SEPA convos. And I was like, the beauty about a leaderless movement is that today they could choose to attack me as praise, or they could choose to attack you as, Joseph.
Whoever.
But people still do their thing because they know you're not their leader, and they didn't choose to fight against corruption because, praise told them, go fight corruption. And that is the beauty about this whole leaderless thing, that this movement is organic and it will keep continuing. Today you may find out, praise got foreign funds, but people will continue with their business.
People will.
Because
I think in my own hometown in Kabare, recently, the Umeme, the electricity was disappearing, like it wasn't consistent on the grid, and citizens said, no, we're going to march.
To Umeme?
Yeah, to
Has
Umeme.
it changed?
They have fixed the problem.
See?
TikTokers, I think there's an online blogger. They were arrested
I think I heard about that.
Yes,
I heard about it. Today we are marching to Umeme for electricity. Good, retreated very fast.
Yeah, like the issue. Then okay, I don't think the teachers in Kawa used that when I think they had like 3 months in areas of salaries. But the idea is that people are recognizing that, look here, it's possible for us not to just keep quiet and let people harm us in the way they want to harm us, and we don't do anything. And I think it's a good thing, maybe just to still follow up on that specific question. So there's so many case studies of movements that rise up, and they are framed in such a manner. I think even the People Power movement in the 2021 election, one good sentiment that even I think went to the grassroots, especially from the religious folk, all those that are religious but sometimes don't add 1 + 1, is the whole idea that they're funded by homosexuals. They are I think it's like a popular one-liner they do. Are there any lessons we've learned on how to deal with that kind of interference, especially from a framing perspective? Because they can perpetuate it on the media, they can perpetuate it using tweet bots, even some MPs. You'll be shocked. It looks they're also on the payroll of those that are spreading the propaganda. Are there any lessons we've learned that are shaping how we are able to deal with such attempts at framing your people as foreign agents or funded by and state actors?
I think one lesson that I've learned out of this whole thing is the fact that you need to brace yourself, because when you, for example, fight corruption, as they say, it fights back. You just need to brace yourself for that. Because no matter when you're fighting these people, what they're after is not having a logical conversation with you, There's a time I tried, there's a bot that is usually, the moment I post something like this, they make a response. I think they go by National Scholar or something.
Oh, yes, you've really blown it. Yeah, I remember.
So at one point, I would just respond to him with the same energy, he says something, I say something, he says something, I say something. And then I was like, okay, let me try having an actual conversation with this person.
Hello.
Let me type something sensible, bother myself, explain myself, add links to my message so that he can read further. But he'll still give the same stupid response.
The same response, yeah.
So I came to realize that the people that you're talking with, for them they're not here for a conversation. They're here to ensure that they make these tweets, retweet responses, and keep tagging the people that notice such that they get paid the money that they need at the end of the day for doing their role. So I've come to learn that you need to appreciate the fact that those people will exist. But you shouldn't spend a lot of time trying to... I had a training one time, I think it was with Global Platforms. You were there, you were facilitating us. And they said when you're in a movement, you realize it was something like a protractor.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You realize that there are people on this far end and people on this far end and people who are in the middle. And the middle guys seem to be your allies, and something. Then there are these guys who might not agree with you, but they can easily be swayed in. Then there are people who are extreme.
Against you.
They are against
and
you.
And your role is to reach out such that they appreciate where you're coming from.
But also, it is to realize that that's not where you put your energy.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Where
praise.
you put your energy.
Maybe just for us take a short break and pick this conversation up.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Let's return to the second part of this episode.
You are listening to the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities.
Welcome back. My name is Joseph and this is the Policy Digest. We are still continuing our podcast series with Praise Aloikin or Apology, a social justice activist and one of the people who were quite involved in the March to Parliament protests. And we wanted to speak about where she sees this movement going, not to preempt her plans or plans of the team or anyone who's planning, but to maybe share her thoughts on where she sees this rise in protest culture going within the context of East Africa and Uganda. What do you think?
So I think right now, personally, most of my energies are still being directed to sensitization of people.
You do so many videos.
Yeah, like that's
5 per day?
It's 1 per day. Actually, not per day. Some days I don't do anything, but maybe sometimes I just text and respond. So currently, my goal is to see how many more people can understand this message, because I see it like, when you preach to people. I know the Bible says differently, but let me get a better analogy. It's like when you're wooing someone, vibing someone, let's say I want you. You get? Today I'll come and tell you, hey, Joseph, I like you this and this. Sagala, you don't want. The next day I come back, you don't want. The next day, maybe I say, let me buy you flowers.
And
the next
KFC.
day, the next, until, I hit the spot. And you're like, okay, let's try this out. So that's my approach, Today I may talk about the garbage, and like that doesn't move anyone. It may move 1 or 2 people. The next day I may talk about, for example, the appointment of Kenzo. That may get to a few people. The next day I may try to explain this angle. But the whole point is, how do I hit the different sweet spots of these different
of these people
Yeah,
for them to revitalize
to reach a
the
point where they're
urgency.
like, this is it. So currently that's what I'm doing. My intention is to get this off social media and try to reach people who may not have access to social media in as many languages as possible that I can in my capacity, but also encouraging those that can in their different capacities to do that. That's why you see there are some people who are arrested and they're now back in their villages leading the protests that you see sprouting out at the end of the day. So the goal is, how do we keep the spirit burning? Today I was just reflecting and saying, how Ugandans easily shift from one thing to another. I think we need to appreciate Ugandans that for the first time, they've had a consistent conversation on corruption for now over a month.
8 months.
Yes, exactly.
I think from the beginning of the year, it has been...
Exactly.
I think the conversation started with... I think like a turning point was on when the cars were bought. When those 5 cars were paraded.
Yeah.
Like from then... Twitter used to be nodes have leaked place.
Oh,
yes. It has now changed.
This person united Ugandans today, then,
Yeah.
So
they used to have like a calendar of this guy, mostly sex scandals, but
exactly.
The conversation has quite shifted.
Talk about it. How many months now, and there is almost nothing like a calendar has come. We had our usual memes. We had sort of become that.
January month, I think.
Yes.
Ujingo, there used to be so many, yeah.
And that is it. And personally, I have no problem. We may not be able to lead a mass protest like, in Kenya, where you have hundreds of people on the streets at the moment. But me even just waking up and seeing even one individual having protested, one individual making a video, one individual tweeting a long message about corruption, or even just a small sentence or making a poster or something, I'm like, yeah, it's okay.
Progress.
This is progress to me. You understand? So personally, that is the goal, to keep the conversation going on, to keep the fire burning, to keep the conversation rolling, Like Spire said in one of the cartoons he made, that your duty is to disturb the peace of an oppressor.
Oh, yeah. So quite vocal about that.
Exactly. So that duty is being played very well by Ugandans. And personally, I see that. But also the goal is to ensure that we try to find better strategies on how to do some of these things to ensure that we can easily calculate like what our impact is. You understand? Like, we have come from this point and we have moved to this point and we have moved to that point. Currently, it's so
it's
ambiguous.
A bit ambiguous.
Yes, it's hard to tell. Like, this
how are you trying? Okay, that would be.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that would be inappropriate.
So we are trying to do that, and of course we are recruiting. We're recruiting the girls I came with from prison up to now.
Oh yes, are you doing some work?
Yeah, we are doing some work.
Yeah.
We're doing some work. That's something else I was going to move on and say that we are currently now trying to see that we have more women on board. Like, how do we have this conversation reach more women? How can we have more women take up this conversation? Because most times women are regarded as they're fearful. They may not be part of this. So how do we get more women to actually come on board and, be ready to hit the streets whenever it's needed, be ready to have these conversations whenever it's needed? Because personally, I'm a woman, and also I feel like we need all genders in this. So there is that too. And the recruiting process happens, for example, when people make videos, when people tweet, when people hold spaces. Like, I've seen our spaces have been going on. I know I read somewhere these days they hold spaces about everything. Tainduka smiled. Space. Tahinduka smiling. So it's really spaces. I know there's like a downside to it, but there's also an upside to it, because the more people log in, people jump into the space, they could hear that one
even
thing
if
that
it's,
could
people
switch
jump
their
in
lives.
and out of spaces,
Yes.
yeah. Even if it's just for a minute, they could pick their
really
baptism.
That's the most I can say about it.
Maybe just to pick it up from still social movement building, and from exactly the conversation we just had as we ended the last episode. Social movements start. You first there's a spark, and I think maybe what happened was like a spark of sorts, and then we see a coalescence of common interests, and we see the rising happening. And so apart from you interesting those who, I don't know, how did they describe them last time they are training, but the people who are not yet conscientized, I think, about the need for this problem, how are you reaching out to them to ensure they appreciate that actually this is necessary, rather than them scorning your thing was a fraud, rather than them being people at the other side of the house?
So there are now different kinds of people. Like, there are those resigned people. They do not necessarily dispute that the things happening in the country are bad, but they are going to, that's not what you should do. They are sort of like commentators in this entire thing. That's a different case. Like I told you, we're already making the videos, we're already doing everything. Like, we are trying our best to talk to those people. But there are people who know the issue, who know that your solution is not the problem, but are benefiting from the system. Therefore, are defending the system. Now, those
even
are
when they know there's
yes,
a problem happening. Yeah.
Now, those are the people that you do not struggle. You do not even bother with, because they know the issue, but are just adamant to the issue.
What's the approach to them? Ignore?
No, ignore them. That's the best thing to do. Ignore them. Because if you come on Twitter and tell me you want a yes or no answer, and I come and say no, but I've not typed the word NO, and then you come back the next day, you didn't type NO. Why are you typing this whole paragraph? Just say NO.
It's a very simple answer.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
So, such a person, if you're going to, for example, have a conversation with National Scholar, do you really think he's going to buy anything just because they're paying him? So for him, his point of change doesn't come with the much explaining you do. It just reaches for him a point where he says, I have to select between the money and integrity.
Yeah, his KPIs are engaged praises posts. Anytime when it's at midnight, you say, shoo.
Thank you. So how do you convince such a person? So, but there are points. I still believe you've said Uganda has hit its. I don't think Uganda has actually hit its crisis, but I think that we are getting there, because if you wake up every day and things are going wrong in this country, Kizza Besigye said recently when he was hosted, I think on Digitalk or something, that what happened to Chitezi, he wishes people would die. And when you've not done some serious activism in this country and interacted with adamant Ugandans, you may be like, oh my God, that was
the time selfish. He really abused, like, I know people who are as stupid as the elites of this country.
So you could be like, that is
can
so
appreciate
selfish.
His anger.
That is so mean. But that's the point. The point he's trying to make is Ugandans need to first feel these things firsthand. Then maybe they'll realize that you don't need foreign funds to fight for things that are going wrong in this country. You don't need a gay person to fund you, to fight the issues happening in this country. So I feel we have not yet hit our crisis, but I feel we are getting there. We are this close to that point. Because I don't know, maybe it's the awareness part. Before, people were not so aware of these things. But now today, rubbish will fall. Almost a greater percentage of people will know because people are now on social media. But also, I would appreciate Daily Monitor. It has taken the cross of traditional media in pushing for...
I've been consistent with their headlines. Exactly. I've been really, really.
So, like authentic things. Talk about people like Parliament, people of Parliament Watch. They get for you the thing as it was on the floor. Like, you cannot come out and say, I didn't say it. They are forging it on, because there's receipts. Like,
there.
You actually did this. You actually said this. Here you go. So I feel like we are really not yet there, but I feel like we are getting there. And people just need to stop sitting in the back seat and waiting. What is Praise going to do? Or how can I criticize what Praise has done, and tell her, no, that's not what to do. Ask yourself, what are you doing? You understand? Because activism, we make it seem like it's a job, like someone should be given an office and paid a salary for being an activism.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so it sort of looks like, okay, Praise, be the activism. Me, I be the teacher. That one be the lawyer. That one is the doctor. It's not that. Everyone can be an activist on top of whatever they do every day to earn money.
They don't have to
be
the career activist.
It doesn't have to be a career.
It's I think it's, how do I call it? It's like a state anyone should reach out to anyone. If there's anything that needs to be solved and the other means have failed, I think it should be like a press within any human soul that someone reaches out to, rather than, and that should not be particular to an individual or the other.
Exactly, because we all have what to lose. I remember when we were in prison, and this one was trying to sell us the idea that, you see, I understand what you're doing. I understand that you're fighting for the right cause. They're like, why don't you join us then? It's like, you see me, the moment I march in my uniform here, the next day I'll come here, I'll have no job.
I'll be court-martialed.
So I'm like, okay, do you think we don't have what to lose? Assume you're telling, do it this way, do it that way. Do you think we don't have what to lose? And I tell her, I have a daughter who is hardly a year old.
Do you honestly think, I don't know, that there is something that can potentially get lost? Yes.
So do you know that we all have something to lose? We have friends. We have family. We have people that are close to us. And anyone can switch anything. Yeah, exactly.
Did you know some friends by that?
Yeah. So they're like, we saw you with Tainduka. Okay. Then they come for Tainduka the next day. Recently, we have a friend of ours whom we came out with from prison. And, she was like, oh, you come guys, I make your nails. I do nails, So we go. A few days later, KCCA is at her shop, closing it. And the reason is unlawful assembly. KCCA is closing your shop for making people's nails. Like it's a saloon. How would people assemble at a saloon? Exactly. To make their nails, On top of that, the landlord, I don't know if he's being paid by the state, is coming and making a scene. Leave my place, I'm going to evict you. Sorry. A whole lecturer at Makerere University, we discovered later. So after us threatening on Twitter, like, you cannot do this, calling Makerere University.
It's now threatening to push you out of the house.
He now kept quiet. No,
he reclined a bit?
Yes. I think he thought this lady wouldn't take that approach. So she did. So the point is...
I think it happened with Agatha when she started activism.
Exactly. So
the landlord pushed them out. Yet, yeah. I think
so people are willing to go to any length to ensure that they
make your life uncomfortable.
And I think coming to terms with that has really made my activism journey easy,
That is a constant, so you have to just figure out how to
maneuver
go about them
and focus on that. So the focus is on the people. Currently, the focus is on the people that genuinely are ignorant, not just having malicious intentions, genuinely are ignorant. And those people can be reached through the current means that exist. You understand? And we hope that they can do the needful. Because I may not be able to travel to Gulu, to travel to Mbarara, to travel to where for these regional sittings. But it's incumbent upon them to chase these people from their district.
Like, for real, like...
Yeah.
It's just, maybe the election cycle is coming. Before the election happens, or during the election,
No, like I mean literally chasing them out of their districts in the names of regional parliaments. But that's also...
Oh, yes.
yeah, but that's also a great way
They
to look at
chose
it.
strategic districts. Guru is yellowish.
Yeah.
Masaka.
That one we can debate.
Yeah, Mbarara.
Yeah.
Which is the other? Mbare? How is Mbare? Is Mbare dominated by the NRM or?
No, it's Snoop these days.
It's Snoop, eh?
Yeah, it was FDC before, now it's Snoop.
Now it's Snoop, yeah.
So let's wait and see how it turns out. But that is it, really. That is it. The struggle continues. A looter continues.
A looter continue. Yeah. I pray that that a coalescence of different allies and people who are affected, it can really be successful, because the debate, I think it was from Professor. He's a Professor Kabumba.
Yes.
Professor.
Is he a professor? Yeah.
Doctor.
He's a
Professor.
doctor.
Yeah. So that Makere, you need a white chicken before they make you a professor.
Exactly. Three-legged white chicken. But yeah.
No, there must be four. There can't be four.
I'm told. A lecturer, a doctor.
Yeah, the way police understood the right to protest, it's like they have that right. They took it away from citizens, and if this movement can just revitalize the concept of when people are aggrieved, they have the right to choose their means of expressing those grievances without anyone saying you don't have the right, you don't have. I think that would be quite a good thing. I don't know. Do you have any parting shots as we close this podcast series?
Yeah. And this is just to tell people once again, like I've said before, it's the situation in Uganda. It can only get worse. It can only get worse or get better. That's a bright side. But whatever direction this country takes depends on what the citizens choose to do. Because our government and our leaders have shown you continuously that this is not their business and they're not going to do anything about it. But now as citizens, what are you going to do about it? In your own capacity, in your different ways. If you want to leave this to be a burden of praise, a burden of George, a burden of the 100 young people that protested that day, these 100 young people can easily be picked out, thrown in jail, lose their jobs, attacked at their rent places or wherever, sent away from wherever they are. Easily. But if each and every one joined this cause, they cannot evict all of us from this country. Okay, if they evicted us from this country, whom would they lead in this country? So we need to come to a point where we realize that we, in our individual capacity, are the advantage that Ugandans need to create the difference. And it's not the other person that you want to sort of channel this responsibility to. It's you. And you are that advantage away to a better country, to a better Uganda. In whatever way that you do. Why are you in a church where a young lady stands up to protest, asking for accountability, and you see police bundling her up, or you see the leaders ridiculing her, and you sit back and fold your hands and not say anything? How do you have a congregation of all those young people, and you're speaking to the microphone and telling them, learn how you speak to your leaders? Do not approach leaders a certain way. When Jesus in the Bible, all his life, was calling out tax collectors. When Jesus himself answered it, was it Herod? When Herod asked him some question and, he gave him a very ironic answer. The very Jesus that you're telling people to be like is the one that went to a market, poured down people's stuff, caned some people for doing stuff that was shitty. So as you're trying to send these Ugandans down that road of not asking for accountability from their leaders, be ashamed of yourself, We hold different kinds of powers in our different small circles. I could hold power over my friends, that I can influence their decisions. You could hold power over your family members. You could influence their decisions. Let that influence in this struggle be towards fighting for accountability and a better country. Because today, a system that benefits you could tomorrow affect you because it's a bad system. But a system that protects each and everyone's rights, irrespective of who they are, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their political affiliation, that's the kind of system that we are fighting for. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Aloikin Praise Apology, for giving us your time. And to the listener, I hope that you picked a leaf or you picked a branch in the episode series we've had with social justice activist Aloikin Praise Apology. Till next time, thank you so much for joining us. You can get all our podcasts on all your podcasting platforms, on Spotify and on Podbean, on Samsung Podcasts, everywhere where you get your podcasts. Remember to subscribe to our other platforms as a Center for Policy Analysis, the Parliament Watch, on WhatsApp channels, on Twitter, on Facebook, and do where to follow what's happening in your country. Thank you, and see you again.
Thank you for listening to the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. For more podcasts, check out our Podbean and YouTube platforms. Thank you.